Gravel by California, out here in the Alabama hills, where we give you a guide to one of the most geologically unique places you'll find. Now, this place is already well traveled because it sits on the way to Mount Whitney, the tallest point in the continental United States. But you'll also recognize this area for the number of movies that it's been in. This starred John Wayne, Roy Rogers, Clint Eastwood. Pretty much anyone you think would be in a Western is filmed out here. Now, this is a 30-ish mile ride that gives you just such a great showcase of so much visual eye candy. So, let's roll! As the gateway to Mount Whitney, Lone Pine sits at over 3,700 feet, about 200 miles north of Los Angeles. And while there are many ties to that city, you'll notice the prominent ones to Hollywood, even with a museum dedicated to film. And inside Mount Whitney Restaurant, you'll find a number of mementos commemorating the myriad of stars that have graced this area. While originally the land of the Paiute Shoshone, Alabama Hills got its name after a Confederate warship, and when it was sunk by the USS Kearsarge in 1864, that namesake started to pop up a bit. Also soon after, in 1872, a massive earthquake destroyed most of the town, with 27 residents losing their lives. If you're on a bike, there is a pretty strong temptation to ride up to Whitney Portal, where you witness the former snowfall of the Sierra, as well as the Alabama hills being a speck in the distance. There's other great climbs and historical landmarks nearby. But we started out at the heart of Lone Pine to make our excursion into the Alabama hills. We veered off Whitney Portal Rd, checking out the rock formations around Tuttle Creek. Having then returned on Horseshoe Meadows Road, which is a viable climb in the opposite direction. Making it back onto Whitney Portal Rd, it's a 5-mile climb with a worthy distraction ahead. You hit dirt on Hogback Rd that reciprocates your effort in elevation gain. You save the best views of Alabama hills for last as you meander through Movie Road. All in all, you'll clock roughly 30 miles with 3,500 feet of vert. Starting from central Lone Pine, we headed up Whitney Portal Rd, checking out the entrance area, which had little amenities, leaving the obvious decision to double back so we could get the real journey started on Tuttle Creek Road. Even before getting into the thick of things, every moment is photo relevant, as it's majestic getting caught up in this scale. The climbing picks up a little as the road starts to close in. But one important note, if you could time it correctly, is to visit in the fall, as the greens, oranges, and yellows are in peak saturation, thanks to the creek itself, which flows from another nearby 14,000-foot peak, Mount Langley. This is the best experience you'll have riding close to these unique volcanic rocks, which is the older of the two varieties found in the Alabama hills that make them such a target for sightseers. As you exit from the rocks, some residential appears, cueing you to make your return, as Horseshoe Meadows is only 17 miles and 5,500 feet of climbing away, making going in the opposite direction a better flavor of the day. It was 3.5 miles on Horseshoe Meadows Road, passing Tuttle Creek Campground as a possible offshoot that trended mostly straight, starting out flat, but then trends downward as a welcome reprieve. Directions are pretty obvious as you hit a T to return up Whitney Portal Rd, where it's time to brace yourself for 5 miles of nothing but up. You can try to distract yourself with the nearby accents of this unique color palette, but you might consider dropping in on a homeowner as the elevation becomes an issue.
Well, we're about mile 9, 1,500 feet of climbing, and it looks kind of Forrest Gumpish straight ahead. I think the air is getting a little thin, starting to affect me.
The first 2/3 of this climb lingers around a steady 6%. And while we were fortunate not to have snow during this part of the season, the granite from the Sierra might fool you into thinking so.
The funny part is it looks real close, but think about the scale. That's the highest point in the continental US. It does not get closer as quickly as you think.
As you cross over Lone Pine Creek, the last third of the climb pitches up to 9%. As each stroke makes the air thinner, at least giving your saddle an opportunity to rest. Going by some burnt landscape, we started to wonder if we missed the turnoff. But with some encouragement from passers-by,
Howdy.
Without deciphering the sign, I knew we were on the right path. But I was curious about surface conditions once we got off the pavement, as the caveats I heard about riding Alabama hills includes washboard and sand. With 5 miles of descending ahead of us, this was the spot to test it out. While the bumps and sand weren't non-factors, you could tell by our back and forth that Jason and I had a lot of fun. Just as Hogback flattened out, we had a dusty visitor, as this is open to off-road traffic. And while it might be hard to see where we were headed, the route takes care of itself out here.
Directions, easy to follow.
It's hooray for Hollywood! As Movie Road isn't a showstopper at the start, riding on this straightaway, along with a little bit of a grind. But as the campers start to emerge, the landscape now peaks up as you formally re-enter the Alabama hills. While there's some punchy climbs where e-bikes would have been some help, the trade-off is being awed by this landscape, which is an appropriate place for ceremony. Being able to experience this area in this manner brings a real inner peace to riding a bike, which is opposite having your views or sound being encumbered inside a vehicle that you almost forget about the mountains for a minute, because you can enjoy this ride at your own pace while submitting to the path forced to meander through this rockscape. As we got into the heart of this theme park of formations, we decided to take a dip onto the Arch Loop Trail, which is a narrow quarter-mile route that does allow bikes, but definitely respect giving space to the mini hikers. After taking the split to the right, you follow the aligning markers that eventually do give way, but where you're headed is apparent, as the shapes formed within this Monzo granite are uniquely weathered by the elements. It was time to make our return. As I was sure more visitors would be coming, we continued our loop on Movie Road, where even on this short excursion, you realize there's so much to explore. But our time came to return to Whitney Portal Rd, where you get to rip it the last couple of miles, right by these formations, aided by Lone Pine Creek, leaving you with a send-off that makes this ride whole.
Short but sweet is super nice, especially out here. Maybe only about a third of it was dirt, but really the views, now you know why it's called Movie Road, because everything looks like a set and it's almost like placed there just for visual candy. The chance to make it out, even if you're just on the way up somewhere else, it's a nice little 2-3 hour stop off. Anyways, you've got other gravel guides you can find right here, or even find some great looking gear at our GBC shop with links below. And of course, please subscribe so we can bring you more from the State of Dirt.